Hello and welcome back to reaDIYsteaDIY. If it's your first time here, thank you for joining us. If you've already subscribed, thank you for subscribing. Well, today I'm trying to bring new life to this old industrial sewing machine tabletop. And for the most part, it's a pretty simple process, except I've got this decal on the front and I want to save the decal. The decal is a really important part of the table. It's awesome looking. I don't want to damage it, but I do want to sand the tabletop. I want to take off the old finish that's on it and I want to smooth out some of the scratches and dings that it's accumulated over the years. But I just wasn't sure in the beginning how to go about sanding this. To be precise in my sanding enough that I can go right up to the decal, but not sand onto it or damage it in any way. So for this particular job, I turned to a card scraper and it worked awesome. If you want to see how it turned out, stay tuned right to the end. For now, let's get going. So what is a card scraper? So if you've never seen or heard of a card scraper before, you might have some questions. A card scraper is basically just a square piece of metal. Sometimes it comes in different shapes. Sometimes it comes in different thicknesses. And it's used as a sandpaper alternative, typically for getting rid of glue joints or taking down areas and corners that are hard to reach with traditional sanders. This particular card scraper is made by a company called Bahco. It's 5 7/8 inches long and 2 3/8 inches tall, and it has a medium amount of flex to it. I'll leave a link to it in the description below if you want to check it out. And basically what a card scraper does, it scrapes. You scrape it along the surface of the wood that you would otherwise be sanding if you could, and you remove material from the surface of the wood either by pushing or by pulling on the scraper to varying degrees depending on the angle that you attack the wood from. The card scraper can scrape because there's a little burr on the very sharp edges of it, sort of a rolled over edge on the corner of the metal that you can't really see, but you can touch. You can definitely feel its sharpness if you run your finger over it. The card scraper made it easy to sand right up to the edge of the decal, but not sand over it. It's a lot easier to go with the grain, so that's what I chose to do, and that made the sides the easiest part of all this. Basically, I just put the burr or the cutting edge of the card scraper right up to the edge of the side of the decal and then pulled away from it. I just kept doing that until I had removed enough material that it looked perfectly flat and sanded. Same on the other side. And then for the top and the bottom, it was a little bit more challenging just because you can't pull away from the decal in the same way and still go with the grain. The curve of the wood and the grain of the wood was fighting me on that idea. So what I chose to do was just go with the grain of the wood and just slowly push the scraper right along the curve of the wood, gently tilting it a little bit more each time towards the decal until I had gotten right to the very edge of the decal. It worked perfect. It did take a lot of concentration. I had to focus really closely, but it worked. And this is my first time using a card scraper. I gotta say, it's not that hard to learn. So if you've never used one before and you think it might be useful for a future project or something you're working on, I'd recommend picking one up. They're pretty quick to learn. They're not very expensive. And then when you're done, it stores away easy. It's little. There's no way I could have done this with a motorized sander, but the card scraper just lets me get that perfect line right at the edge of the decal. And I don't think I could have done this without a card scraper. I'm not sure if there's any better way to sand this around this decal and save the decal itself, but hey, if you know of something, leave it in the comments section below. I want to learn. So that's it for this week. I'm going to get back to working on my table, but as always, take care, stay safe, have fun with your DIY projects, and I'll see you next Saturday.